So I think that when our next month's presenter isn't gonna have a slideshow, he's just gonna do a lecture. I think I'm gonna invert the tables or make a, I don't know, I'm gonna do something so he can stand there. We can all sit over here and see him, but also the people on Zoom can see him as well.
Okay, that's okay.
What's all I'm doing right now is I'm trying to be like, how's this going?
What is the topic next month?
How to present, hey Nick, how to present your work, or get your work ready for a gallery show.
Oh,
Yeah, which we have an announcement tonight that will make that even more important.
Dun dun dun.
now you got some suspense.
That's the idea.
Well, the topic tonight sounds really fun.
Yeah, I agree. And we always love it when our presenters are here in person.
I thought. What's that? What do you sell? I sell vintage photographs.
Oh,
So but they're found photographs. So
Nice.
you go to the flea market, you pick it up and vernacular. People call it either vernacular photography or found photos.
Yeah.
So
You ever hit up the brass armadillo?
oh yes,
Oh,
yeah, I have one friend that
Cool
sells it.
place.
Spent a whole like afternoon in that place.
Yes, it's big.
I go down to Florence a few times a year for work, and walking around downtown Florence is great because there's probably 10 antique stores all through Florence.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Florence, Colorado?
Yeah.
Yep.
I haven't been there.
Where's that?
New King City.
Oh, wow. Thanks for
Yeah,
that.
they're like known for all their antique stores.
Huh, well, I've been through there, so.
Yeah,
Hey, Ben.
Hey guys, how are you?
Good.
Thanks. I mean, I love
And
road trips.
Jen and
like
Stuart
antiquing, so.
Brad and Joy and everybody else.
place.
We're gonna stay where everybody out.
about 2 hours there.
Oh, fun. Oh, with this weather, no.
We'll try to say that too.
You can do the non-verbal, like, turn.
Hey, guys.
Is this photography?
Yeah. We got
So-
guests.
Yeah, well, we just wanted to check it out.
Yeah.
Kind of interested in maybe join it.
Awesome.
See what it's about.
Welcome. I'm Kyle.
Yeah,
Daddy.
Andy.
Andy. Nice to
Yeah.
meet you guys. Yeah, great. You came in for a great presentation tonight.
Yes.
I want to introduce everybody one by one. We're about to get started, so I'll just let you guys sit
Okay.
wherever you're.
Yeah. Well, thank you for letting us be here.
We will have you guys, we always with guests, we always have them introduce themselves just briefly. What kind of photography they do and how they know. So, be ready for
Yeah, put
that.
us on the spot. I got you.
Yeah. Just more in. Shall we go ahead and get started, Carl?
Absolutely.
We're already recording it, so.
Yeah.
So a couple guests just walked into the room and I see maybe one on Zoom, Tracy.
Yeah, Tracy here.
Cool, just wanted to see what we got. So welcome, everybody. Really excited about tonight's presentation. Before I get into that, I have a couple things that I want to talk about. One really important and exciting thing that I'm really eager to mention. The other thing is also really cool. We're doing a photo walk this weekend for the St. Patrick's Day Parade. We're gonna meet at 8 a.m. on Saturday at Denver Central Market, and which is at 27th and Larimer. Dirk, I found it. Yeah.
Okay.
27th and Larimer in the Rhino Arts District. We're gonna start there at 8 a.m. And at around 8:30 or so, we're gonna make our way to the staging area, which is in the big giant Coors Field parking lot area just west of there. The St. Patrick's Day Parade, I've shot every year for maybe 4 or 5 years running or so not that long, but enough to know that this is a really fun event and it's really cool and been looking forward to it for quite a while. So join Jim and I as we co-lead this event Saturday. It's gonna be a lot of fun. And the weather's supposed to be like it has been, except for today, it's supposed to be in the 70s, so it's gonna be beautiful. Hope you all can join us. The other thing that I want to talk about, and this is the exciting thing, is that we, Focus Camera Club, are going to do our very first ever members only gallery showing. That's gonna take place this summer. We have a gallery lined up, and we are gonna do a traditional calls for entry, similar to what, say, CPAC does for their member-only show, which is actually open right now. If you're a CPAC member, look into that. Get 3 free entries. So ours will have a cost, 3 photos for $20, maybe. I can't remember the exact details. All I'm here to talk about tonight is just to
It was $30 for 3.
$30 for 3, right?
Yeah.
$50 each, 30 for 3, something like that. Ben has done a lot of work behind the scenes for this, getting a commitment from a gallery owner on Santa Fe, and the commitment to do 2 weekends, so a 2-week run at the lab on Santa Fe is what it's called, a legitimate gallery, and it will feature work from our members and just our members, and it's going to be really cool, and I'm super excited. Ben, I'd love it if you tell us some more and point out all the things that I'm missing.
Yeah, no, you pretty much covered it all. Yeah, it's we were able to come up with an agreement with the Lab from Santa Fe, which is a gallery right in the middle of the Santa Fe Art District. And one of the weekends that we're going to be having, if I'm not mistaken, it's going to be First Friday, so it's going to be pretty busy. So the exciting thing is that we get to actually see our work in the gallery, and I think it's fantastic for several reasons. Primarily because it's really cool to see your stuff being displayed, and second because other people gets to see it too. So we're hoping that this is the first of many. We were hoping that we go from inaugural to second annual and so on. But yeah, really exciting, and you guys are going to be receiving more information and all the details in an email. Excuse me, within the next week or so. Well, in addition to the show, we're going to have a presenter, I believe in July, which is one of the gallery curators talking to us how to, prep for galleries and things like that. It's pretty much going to be an open theme category, but not so much as in whatever. So we have primarily 2 categories that you can submit under, and but anyway, as I said, there's going to be tons of information coming up in the next week or so.
Yeah, thank you, Ben. Right, and as you mentioned, we have a presentation coming up in April by Josh Berkowitz, who owns the gallery, who's going to talk to us about how to determine which photos you want to submit, how to prepare them to submit, how to prepare yourself to submit, how to be really confident about your work. And then separately, there's going to be a presentation in, I think it's June or July, but I believe it's June, from Denver Frame Company by Megan, who works there, about framing, how to frame your work, how to present it physically. Once you're accepted, how to, some options there. So we've really thought through this, and we're really excited and we hope that it's the first annual member gallery show. Yeah.
And yes, Megan's presentation is in June. But also, the reason that we're having these presentations primarily is because all the work is going to be for sale.
Yeah, right. We're gonna.
So that's a key thing.
Yeah, that's a big deal, right?
It's not just that your stuff is going to be up on the wall potentially, but it's also going to be for sale. So you have the possibility of making a few bucks from this show.
The next photo I sell will be my first. So I often don't think about that. Sell a photo? What?
Yeah, really.
That's an incredibly great point, Carl. Yeah, and this is going to be juried, and it's by an independent third party. Anyways, it's a big deal, and we're really excited. Any other announcements, Carl, that I need to be aware of or forgot about?
No, I think that covers it. And like Ben said, I'll get information out to everybody. I've been working on a page on the website that I've got like 99% done, where it'll explain the details, the timeline, where you can submit your images and such. If I remember right, the deadline for submitting images wasn't it the end of May? So we've got some time for you guys to, get some education about selecting the right images and then giving you time to actually go through that process and get some final edits on them and things like that. So it's not something that you have to like jump on and have done by next week.
Yeah, May 31st is what I'm seeing. Ben, correct me if that's not right, but I believe it is May 31st.
Right.
That is correct. Yeah, May 31st, it's the deadline. I think submissions are going to be opening, we initially said on the 18th. So yeah, we'll have time from the 18th till the 31st to be able to submit.
Yeah, so members, use your mentors to help go through your stuff. To find your best work to submit. Little plug there for Ben and his and all the mentors.
Yeah.
And that's a good point. Just quickly, since anyone from the club is going to be judging, I don't know. I guess what I just thought is that would that give a mentor an advantage? Because I would be more than happy to depending on how you guys feel, we have to discuss this, but I would be more than happy to withdraw from competitions to be able to help people come up with a portfolio.
Right. Yeah, we can talk about that.
Yep.
Offline, but excellent. So anyway, that's the big news that Ben and I have been really looking forward. The board, in fact, we've been talking about this for quite a while.
Yeah.
Ben first brought it up to me when he joined the board last year. So anyway, big deal, and we're really excited. Couple members in the room. I remember your name, Maddie, and I'm sorry.
It was Andy.
Andy, thank you. Would you guys like to take a second to introduce yourselves and talk about how you found out about us and what kind of photography you like to do?
Sure. Hi. I found out about the club through Andy. We kind of wanted to just come and get the creative gears moving. I do, most of the time we do a photography company together that we work on. But outside of that, I do like grad photos and things like that. Nothing too crazy. So yeah, let's say natural light, if that helps.
Yeah. So you found out about us through Andy.
Yes.
Andy, how did you find out about us?
So the main thing I was looking for was essentially kind of a group that, number one, I can continue learning. Number two, that I can, put photos in front of people and get, nice critiques. So as far as my background, originally I taught photography and other digital media in middle school. And then, from there, I got my master's at Academy of Arts University, in photography. And, with that, I did kind of a mix of fine art, but mostly kind of commercial, portraiture, sorry, I'm on the spot. And product photography. And then, finished with that. And, last little over a year, I've been working, we work at a business, Elevate Snaps. It's a photography business in Park, Colorado. So general manager for that. And we do a full range of stuff, as far as a lot of, volume, sports, family, corporate, just kind of the full bag, which is fantastic. But, the thing with that is it's definitely more of just, turning out, the photos, where, with this and kind of why I looked you guys up, I just wanted to find somewhere where I can kind of get more of that creative element back. And then, more of actually showing and, potentially, critiques and people's opinions, kind of continue to grow my portfolio.
That's great. We're really happy you guys showed up tonight. We have one other guest on Zoom, Tracy.
Yes, we do, Tracy. If you would basically do the same thing, just give us a little bit about how you found us, the type of photography you do, things like that.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name's Tracy Williams, and I found you all. I took a course at Mike's Camera, and one of the instructors had referenced this club, and so I did a little research and decided to show up tonight. I mainly do wildlife photography and nature photography. So
Great.
Nice.
Well, all right. Those of us in the room, do you guys care if I dim the lights or not dim, but shut them off? In fact, all right. Tonight's presentation is I'm really looking forward to it. So tonight's presenter is Sarah Wells. So it's funny, as the program chair, I typically find presenters by getting online and doing searches and, you know, trying to, I don't know, and sometimes photographers reach out to us, whatever. But I don't normally find our presenters the way I found this one. Jim and I were out on, we're scouting the Lohi neighborhood for, Jim and I, whenever we do a photo walk, we often scout neighborhoods to see if that neighborhood would be a viable photo walk. And we were in Lohi walking around, would this be good, would this be good? We ran into this woman walking her three-legged dog, and she stops us and asks us, you know, what are you two guys doing in the neighborhood with your cameras? What's going on? And we told her what we were doing. And she then told us about her passion for photography and that she lived in San Francisco in the 90s and shot the LGBTQ scene there. I think that is a really important thing, and I think it's really cool. And I immediately on the spot thought, gosh, I got to put my Focus Camera Club programs chair and president hat on. And I did, and asked her if she'd be interested in doing a presentation. She had told me then that he had kind of, and you can correct me if you can correct all of my mistakes here, Sarah, when you take over. But I believe she told me that night that she had, or that afternoon, that she had kind of stopped photographing, gotten out of it a little bit, and was interested in sort of revisiting that era. And I thought, well, what better way than to give us a presentation at Focus Camera Club about your photography then. And the funny thing is that Jim and I on that scout, we were like, yes, this is a great neighborhood for a photo walk. We're going to do one. We did one in, I think it was September, and it was the biggest turnout of any photo walk that Jim and I have done. 36 people showed up. And on that walk, I ran into Sarah again, walking her four-legged dog, her other dog. So kind of funny. Sarah, I invite you to correct or add to any of that. I'm going to turn your microphone on, and then I'm going to come over and help you share. Make sure you share your screen.
Sorry, I'm low tech for sure. Oh no.
Okay.
Hold on.
Do you mind if I?
Yeah.
Do you mind if I?
Oh, there's Canva right there.
Fly for a bit.
Yeah. Oh, I see. It's on a. Gotcha.
All right. Yay. Yay, that worked. Okay, well, thanks, Kyle. And how you described it is very accurate. I have a three-legged dog. And your cameras caught my eye because you had fancy cameras, right? I'm always intrigued on what people are doing now with photography. So the presentation tonight is all the photos are film. There's no digital here because it's from the 80s and the early 90s. And Kyle's also right about it kind of was like a little pep talk, or you probably didn't plan it that way, but you gave me a little incentive to do what I've been talking about for a long time, which is dust off the old negatives, which I've kept all these years and always intended to get back to it. And then as I go through the presentation, I'll describe, like, you know, where I was. I mean, it's autobiographical in a sense because it's my life, and we're going through, you know, the mid 80s to about 1993. And I'll go ahead and get started here. So this first picture, I'm going to ask you all to look at this man and how fit he is. All right. I mean, I guess I could tell you a little bit about him now. His name's Scott, and he's no longer with us, but he's from Hawaii, and he danced hula. And he's enough Hawaiian that he was able to go to the you had to be 50% Hawaiian heritage or DNA to get into Kamehameha, which was a high school in Honolulu. And so that's Scott, and he and I work together as flight attendants, and he'll show up later in the presentation and later in the slideshow. I mean, later in the years. And then I just wanted to tell you a little bit about myself, or, you know, kind of why I took pictures. And I'm talking past tense because I haven't picked up a camera except for my phone. And I did have a digital camera, but I just never wrapped the technology in the beginning wasn't that good. And my nephew set me up with a good camera. I did some shooting with it, but I wasn't satisfied with I wanted to see grain. I don't know if anybody else my age feels that way. And now I know in Photoshop or whatever, you can make grain, So I'll read a couple things, and I promise it's not PowerPoint, death by PowerPoint. I'm not going to read that much. So I'm interested in photographing places and people from a social documentary perspective. My intention is to convey not only the beauty of the environment, but the beauty of human interaction and humankind. And then continuing on that thought is my statement. My photographs provide an insight to the human spirit and soul. Whether the image is a street scene or an intimate personal portrait in one's home, there is a sense of closeness and trust. My intent is to convey the beauty and freedom expressed when folks are being their authentic self. And then the overview of the presentation, I was going to watch, I have a clock here, so hopefully I'll be okay with time management. So just an overview of the presentation, I'm going to next show you my where I went to school, because school was important to me. I want to just identify or recognize a few photographers that I researched, and there's so many more. I just picked, I think, three. But I find that to be so important. Anybody that's photographing, whether it's landscapes, you've got to look at what people have done before us. Like I was thinking about this one guy, his name is Clyde Butcher. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of him, but you should write that down, Clyde Butcher. He does photography in the Everglades in Florida. And he has been doing it for like 30 or 40 years. He's still alive. He's on Facebook. And I'm from Miami, so I know a bit about him. I have, in our living room, I have a big Clyde Butcher photograph on the wall. So he's kind of the Ansel Adams.
You're so lucky.
What's that?
What's that, Carl?
I was just saying that you're so lucky. I lived in Florida for almost 30 years, up in the Tampa Bay area. I'm well familiar with Clyde Butcher. His work is stunning, absolutely stunning.
Yes.
Anybody who loves black and white needs to check him out. And I've seen his work up close, and oh man, it's gorgeous.
Oh my gosh, Carl, thanks for sharing. Because he's dear to my heart. And he's like Ansel Adams. He's big. He's got the big, I think it's 8x10 camera or something like that. It's crazy. Anyway, so, but obviously the photography that I like to do or did, I'll talk in present tense because I'm going to pick the camera. I'm going to go get it. After this, I'm going to go buy a camera. Actually, I have an old Leica somewhere in a closet.
Wow.
I could use that one.
John's
it's like a 1950 something.
Okay.
But anyway, it's important because it kind of helped researching other photographers that have been successful in conveying a message. It helps you convey, how do you make your pictures of a famous place stand out compared to anybody else's? What makes the lighting, what makes it better than others? And then my early work, I wanted to show you that because it's kind of fun. Technical information, since it's a camera focus club, a camera club, I thought I should touch on the technical information. You guys will like the cameras that I used, I think. And then the Latin up there, non Satis Scire, that is my philosophy, and it has helped me through jobs. It's helped me through a lot of different things. And then towards the end of the, or 3/4 through, we'll look at the photos of the last series that I did, which was in color. So it was all black and white up until the last series. All right, and then my education, I'll start on the bottom. My high school, I'm from Miami, but my parents, my mom was always good about saying, you know, all of us should be creative, you know, the arts are important. My sister, to this day, she raised 4 kids, they're all adults, and she's still playing her viola in an orchestra. Or actually, she had to set it aside while she was raising the kids. And now she's in an orchestra. She actually plays in Kenny Loggins' band, you know. So she's in Santa Barbara, and that's where Kenny Loggins lives. So being able to go to Interlochen was great. I went for 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, and it was all geared towards the arts, visual arts, mostly music. It's known as a music camp up in Michigan. And then Hampshire College, it's a very liberal college in Amherst, Massachusetts. So there are 5 other colleges in the area. It was a great place to go to school. The one person you guys will recognize that went there, and he was ahead of me by a year or 2, so I might have met him once, but Ken Burns. So Ken Burns attributes Hampshire and the philosophy of how they did education attributes them to some of his success. Not all of it, but some of it. And then when I did move to San Francisco, I was able to go to San Francisco Art Institute, which sadly, just this last year, it went under. I believe the state school system, universities, I forget what it's called, University of California. I think they bought it up because there's a Diego Rivera mural there. So, you know, it's a historical building, and hopefully they'll make it an art center again. And the famous person that went there are several people, but Annie Leibovitz. And all those pictures I took when I was about that age. The upper left one of the teapot is in Boston, probably, you know, I was probably between high school and college. And then the one in the lower corner you'll see again. Okay. Where? Photography in Hampshire. Oh, really?
I was like, oh my God.
That's crazy. That's great. We probably study with some of the same people. Yeah, so then just a little more about me. It's all about me. Okay, so family, I already said I'm from Miami. And actually, my dad, Carl, this is for you. My dad took Clyde Butcher out on his flat bottom boat to photograph in the Florida Keys. And that's why I have the big picture on my wall, because my dad was friends with Clyde Butcher. But the boat was only like 18 foot long, and it ran aground, and everybody had to get out and push. But he got some good pictures, and that's all that matters.
Exactly.
Geographics, I don't know if that's a word, geographics, but so from Miami, I went to Michigan, from Michigan to Massachusetts. From Massachusetts, I ended up in Honolulu, Hawaii, because my dad lived there. He had a job, and he said, do you want to come to Hawaii? And I'm like, are you kidding me? I think so, yes. So I went to Hawaii for a year, and then San Francisco. And that was in like 85, 86. Some photography jobs that I've done over the years. I love doing photography for myself and not for anybody else. And I don't like the idea of I have to do it a certain way because I'm being paid to do it a certain way. And I did some wedding photography, which was fun, except when dealing with the clients. afterwards. You know, the photos would come out great. I'd make sure they ate a good breakfast so they look good. Because a lot of times women forget to eat because they've got so much going on for their wedding. And then it's like, then they look pale by the time I want to take pictures. But so wedding photography, I had a mentor who was a San Francisco architectural photographer. He was amazing. And he tried to teach me technical stuff like tungsten light and fluorescent light and, you know, filters. And I wasn't real good at that. But he was great. He was a great person to work for a couple years. And then, as you can tell from the pictures there, my career, I started out as a flight attendant. That pillow, I just want you to know, that was the very last pillow to be seen on an airplane, right? And unless you're rich enough to be in first class, there's no pillows. But I was a flight attendant for many years, well, about 14 years. And then I went into training. And that's what I did at a few different airlines. And then ended up at United, because it's all about seniority in the aviation. You need to have seniority to get good benefits. So I stayed there in San Francisco, and then I moved on. I stayed with them. That's how I ended up in Denver, because there's a big training center in Denver, pilot training center. All right, and then just as I mentioned before, a few photographers that stand out and I thought would fit with this presentation. Two of them worked for the FSA, what was that, the Farm Security Administration in the 30s. And so they actually had a job with the government to take pictures. Can you imagine? Wouldn't that be great? So that's Dorothea Lange on the left side, and that's her camera. I'm sure she used different kinds of cameras, but that's a big camera to be carting around. But she really did a great job documenting the middle picture. I'm sure everyone has seen, because it's her most famous one. It's the migrant mother. And just, you know, how tough it was during the Dust Bowl time and in America. And then the one on the right kind of fits with what I'm going to talk about with the LGBTQ community, except hopefully we don't end up in an internment camp. But she was photographing, I believe it was an assignment to photograph the Japanese internment camps. And she totally opposed the whole concept. And then the government censored any of the photographs. So they didn't want anyone to see what they were doing. It sounds a little familiar, what's relevant to today. But anyway, fortunately, I believe I'm not positive about this, but I think all the negatives have been preserved during this FSA work that many photographers did. And then Walker Evans also was with the FSA. And, you know, so he really, you know, just like Dorothea Lange, you know, really captured a person's being. You know, when I wrote in the beginning about the humankind and humanity of the woman on the left and the family on the right, and how impoverished the family on the right was. They don't have much of anything. And then the picture in the middle, I saw this show of Walker Evans' work in San Francisco, and they talked about artifacts, that he often photographed artifacts, and I didn't quite understand what that meant. But see, this garage, the guy took all these tires and almost made a sculpture in the front of his business. So it's like a three-dimensional sculpture, and Walker Evans captured that. And then Helen Levitt, she was a New York City, Lower East Side photographer, and it was her neighborhood. So she photographed the kids in the neighborhood. She used 35 millimeter, but there's many more than these three. And all these photographers took pictures over decades. So the one on the right, she did do film in the 70s.
Great pictures. Yeah.
Yeah, they're fun. Helen Levitz, if you get to see, look her up and you look at her portfolio, very whimsical, kids playing in the streets. And then Robert Mapplethorpe, I thought this would be good. So when I was in San Francisco from 85 to 94, and a lot changed in those years. So, it was because of the AIDS epidemic. And then in the, late 80s, early 90s, I was having friends die. And then people that we knew, I mean, not knew personally, but oh my gosh. I'm trying to think of the band. I can't remember the band. But like, you'd be listening to who's Hot Lobster?
Rock Lobster? B-52?
Rock Lobster, B-52. It's like one of their band members died. And then Freddie Mercury died, and then Robert Mapplethorpe, I was just getting familiar with his work, and then he died, But this is another photographer I admired so much because I could never, ever do what he did. He was so good at studio lighting and getting as far as like this orchid, I think that's an orchid, the tonal range in his images. He did a lot of plants early on in studio still life pictures. Then he went on to do like a lot of people. There's Arnold Schwarzenegger. He did a whole book on Lisa, I can't remember her last name, Lisa Lyons, who was a bodybuilder. He did a complete book on her. I haven't seen it, but anyway, so his career was taking off. He did get into subjects that were controversial because they were the leather community and the gay men's community. So you got in those days, I think it was Jesse Helms and a few others that were trying to shut him down and not let anybody see his photographs. Here we have on the left-hand side, does anyone know who that woman is? Patti Smith.
Patti Smith, yeah.
Yes, Patti Smith, thank you. So that's the cover of one of her albums, and she's still performing today. She's amazing.
Robert and Patty were sort of each other's muses back in the 70s.
Yes,
Very
yeah.
close, very, very.
Very close. They went to, I think, art school together. But this just kind of describes like, so he was, he was young, he was doing amazing things. I think he was taking pictures 24/7. He was getting in museums. The middle picture is him as a young man, healthy. And then the picture on the right, you can see, I've always found this to be so striking because he's disappearing. That's how I see it. There's no body there anymore. And the cane that he has is a skull. And his head, you can tell that he's not well. And he died in 1989. All right, so on a lighter note, so my earlier work, I'll go through this. It's mostly showing you lots and lots of pictures. I thought I wouldn't have much to say, but I'm talking a lot. So that's usually how I roll. Okay, so the first series, it's Midway Makers. A friend of mine came up with that name, and it's mostly of the people that work at a state fair or county fair. And airports and airplanes, and then some New York City streets. So going to the county fair was an annual ritual growing up in Miami. The amusement park atmosphere evokes nostalgia to most folks. I was drawn to this environment not only because of the artistic handmade banners, the smell of the fair food, the sounds, but also the people. Both the amusement park patrons and especially the workers. So on this day, I got there early because I always get everywhere early. But anyway, so actually the first one I'm showing you on the left-hand side obviously wasn't early, but my mom was probably just like, go to the fair, go. And so she dropped me off probably 2 hours before they opened. But so So, but it was, it's like, that's what's so fun about taking pictures is like, there's opportunities that come up that you had no idea. So there I was with my camera and then all the workers waiting for the crowd to show up.
That picture on the left is phenomenal.
Oh, thank you. Thanks.
So cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
I know. Really, why more people didn't get injured, we don't know. Yeah, that was a fun one. And then we've got the guy working the what's the scary house called? Scary house? Haunted house, thank you, yes. And the one on the right, I just put into the presentation yesterday because it really tells of the time. It's like everybody's wearing their, jeans, their designer jeans. They all have the blonde Farrah Fawcett hair, and they're waiting to meet some boys at the fair.
What was that brand of jeans? Jordache?
Yeah.
Jordan. Yes.
I think I
Oh
just
my-
stated it myself. I'm sorry.
Yeah. You guys are telling your age for sure. All right, so then you can see here's more workers again. And the two on the right, I think they're father and son. All right, and then New York. When I was at Hampshire, I took a semester off. I had a summer and a semester, so I think that comes out to 8 months. I might be wrong with my math, but anyway, it was great because my college was close to New York. One of my best friends grew up in the Upper East Side, so I got to hang out there and then meet people that lived there and crash at their house. So the first two are pictures, like when Kyle was talking about St. Patrick's Day parade. I love fairs and parades, and they still do it to this day in New York. It's the Easter Day parade. And in those days, I think it still happens, probably more elaborate now, but people dressed up with their best hats, their Easter hats. And then eventually I started using flash fill because when I look back now, it's like I was frustrated with not seeing people's eyes in my photographs. So I would just I would tilt it up and just had a little piece of paper or, mat board on top of my flash just to give it a little punch of light. And these photos don't show that. It's all natural light. And then airports and airplanes. So I come from an aviation family. My dad, all the way back to World War II, he was a Marine ace pilot. And we heard about it all the time, And all my friends thought, they'd say, why is your dad yelling? And it's like, that's just how he talks because he's a Marine, so. But so I was around airplanes even as a kid because he'd fly cargo planes and then we could sit on a box in the back or somewhere and go wherever he was going. And so both my brothers became pilots. And then I wasn't really interested in being a pilot, but I became a flight attendant. And then that turned into safety training, which was my favorite thing to do. And so while I was on the East Coast, I just fell in love with this building. It's, I'm pronouncing it wrong probably, but Eero Saarinen, he also did the St. Louis Arch. PBS has a great documentary about him if you ever get a chance to see it. So it's the JFK TWA building, and he designed it to look like a bird or flight. All right, so it was just the perfect place to photograph. It was getting pretty, the heyday was, I think, in the 60s. It was starting to look a little worn by the 80s. But as you see those kids looking out, there's airplanes right on the outside. So this was an opportunity to, in a beautiful space, is try to capture the people moving through airports. So you can just see how It wasn't real crowded like airports are crowded now, but I just love the design of that entire building. It's very organic in a sense. And you can see over the years, they did not demolish anything, I don't think. Now it's a hotel. It's a hotel within the airport. I think it's JetBlue that has that terminal. But you can see that's the departure sign on the left-hand side. Now, the photograph on the right-hand side is not the TWA building, but it's the International Terminal at JFK. And again, I wanted to get the sense of how people move through this space. They don't really want to stay there. They just want to move through it. And then, like everything you'll see in each of my series, it's like, okay, I took the pictures, the architectural aspect of it, but I'm more interested in getting close to the people. So yes, if you're trying to read what magazine he's reading, you are correct. It's Penthouse, right? So probably things people don't do now, but because they can look
I'm
on their
sorry, what is
phone.
Penthouse magazine? I'm just kidding.
Trust me, he's not reading it. It looks like Dustin Hoffman.
Thank you. Yeah, it does kind of. But you can see like the place is kind of a dump, like the seat next to him, the seat is up, so airports were in disarray. And then one of the things that I was so intrigued with, but I only have one picture here to show you, is how people are forced to be there. So, they have to sit next to each other. Maybe the guy put the seat up next to him so that nobody sat next to him while he looked, looked at his magazine. But you can see on the right-hand side, it's like everybody's so close to each other, but they're not happy to have to be so close to each other, and they're anxiously awaiting the arrival of their bag and baggage claim. What's that?
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yes.
On the last one, on the image on the left, when you took that photo, are you interacting with the individual, or is that more of just kind of, grabbing that shot? I'm just kind of curious.
Thanks for asking that question, because that's a good point.
Repeat the question, because I don't know if.
Okay, yes. Yes, the question was, when I'm taking a picture of somebody up close, like the guy looking at his magazine, do I ask permission, or what's the interaction? And I was using medium format camera, and I'm only like 5'4". I'm little and the camera's gigantic. So it's hard to like how do you just not say something? So I would usually say, the camera might have been intimidating, but I was not, and that's how I was approach people, in that, may I take your picture? And they usually say yes. Because I do like the two older people at the Easter Day parade. I'm very close to them, and so sometimes I would not ask them, but just smile, and then some kind of gesture of like, is it okay, and most people didn't mind it at all. I had one guy at a flea market once, and he was like, don't take my picture because everybody thinks I'm Reagan or something like that. And I'm like, I don't think you're Reagan at selling at the flea market, but anyway, yeah, good question. And then again, to move closer. So I think that was the whole thing in the evolution of me taking pictures, is like, okay, I took overview of the airport, the terminal, and then I wanted to get, I was a flight attendant. So of course, that is not an easy place to take pictures, but I haven't printed them, or I haven't scanned them now. But these two I wanted to show you as an example. Basically it's like the middle of the night we would do military contracts. The one both of these are from an airline called Aero Air. And do you know it?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I was 20 something. I cried a lot because the passengers were it was like on the East Coast, so I wasn't used to people yelling at me all the time as a flight.
51 from Vegas all the time.
Oh, yes, okay, yeah, that's probably right.
Sarah, real quick. The
Yes.
picture you see, correct me if I'm wrong, they're all manual focus, right?
They're manual focus, yeah.
So,
Yes, thanks. You guys, please feel free because you're helping me remember to say things, so that's good.
just something to look at.
Yeah.
Picture.
Yes, that's so true, because it's like the the one on the left, it's the middle of the night, everybody's asleep, so like, what do? Well, I'm gonna take some pictures of you guys, and then, Kelly was just using, the one on the left, just using the light from the exit, the required light, and that's in the galley. And then the flight attendant on the right, back in the day, it was like between flights, where the passengers get off and then you're waiting for the other passengers to get on. So that I love that picture of her, because it's like, there was a lot of flight attendants that were tough, and they taught me how to be tough with the passengers, which was good. So that was the interior of the airplane. Okay. And so I knew you guys would want to see the cameras. So the upper left camera, the Conoco, was my first one. I think I made enough money that I could buy that camera when I was probably 15 or 16, maybe 15, I think. And yes, all manual. I mean, I think that one, when I looked for this photograph, I couldn't remember which Konica I had. So I think it had somewhat of a light meter inside, but you had to figure out, you pretty much had to figure out what you want to do, just like you have to, I'm sure you still have to do shutter speed and depth of field, all of that in consideration. The middle camera, the Mamiya, I never owned that one, but I borrowed it from Hampshire. Had you could check. Oops, sorry, I touched my microphone. Sorry. The Mamiya was from school, so it was just a loaner, and that's what I used to photograph airports and the people in the airports. The Nikon was just an upgrade from the Konica, so I always had a 35 millimeter. So the two on the left are 35 millimeter. The middle one is, I forget the dimensions, but it's medium format. And then the Pentax 6x7, it was like 5 pounds.
Yeah, it's
4
hard to
by
it's hard to be subtle with a Pentax 6x7 in your hand, is it? And by the way, the Mamiya was a 645. So
645.
yeah, 6x4.5 centimeter.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I
Thanks.
used to own one back in the day.
Oh yeah, yeah. So it was great for that project.
Right.
And then the Pentax 6x7, I loved it. It was so heavy. I always had to carry what was the brand of tripod? Gitzo? So I always had a monopod with me because I just couldn't, it was just so heavy. And when you're photographing, you're walking a lot. So, all right. So then just the technical aspect information I thought you would be interested in is with the black and white, I was using Tri-X, but then there was a point where I thought it was too much grain, which it is too much grain. So then one of the professors, her name is Elaine Mays, she shared her secret formula, which I'm not sharing with you. Only because I couldn't find the piece of paper before today. But it was microdol. And the microdol would reduce the grain to give you better tonal range. We're getting to the color photos I want to show you. And that was Fuji. And I can't it's been so long ago. I don't know I think it was 200. I think it might have been 400 because a lot of the shots were interior shots and low lighting. And I mentioned the two formats I used. And then now this could be a whole presentation on its own. And I'm sure you guys have talked about it a lot. But I just wanted to mention is in my era of doing this from age, boarding school, age 15 to, 30 something, is I didn't want to crop. And so in camera, I had to get it right in camera. So when I went to the dark room, which was a wet dark room, of course, I didn't crop there either, unless it was just a little bit. Like even with this, getting ready for the presentation, my scan film holders were off a little bit and I couldn't get it straight. So there was a little cropping there. But that's just a personal preference. Everybody can, you have your own way of doing things. And then the flash fill I mentioned in my later work, I just used it so, and you can see, I'll show you one where it mixed like fluorescent and flash and the color came out kind of weird, but I wanted a little pop so I could see people's eyes. And then as was mentioned earlier, is that it was all manual adjustments, focus, aperture, shutter speed, etc. Some cameras have, I think all my cameras had in-camera light meter, but I would also use a handheld light meter. All right, and then this was the philosophy that was the motto for Hampshire, my college. And I think it really is something for everybody to think about, to get deeper and closer to, like, just not randomly shooting hundreds and hundreds of shots, but really having intention. So to know is not enough. This Latin term embodies the philosophy that intellectual knowledge must be accompanied by action, social responsibility, and application. It represents a commitment to inquiry, social justice, and making a difference. Yeah, it's stuck with me all these years. Even when in training at an airline, it was like, well, there's rules, there's tons of laws and federal aviation regulations, but why? Why? And so I would love to do the research and figuring out, why did they come up with this? Why does it have to be a law that you have to, do such and such on an airplane or not do such and such? Okay, so this is the deeper dive of, it'll be the San Francisco photography that I did, the streets, street fairs and parades, a little bit of family and friends, more portraiture and artsy kind of photography, and then this series called Just Being. And the Just Being, you'll see in a second. Okay, so I just showed you my cameras that I used. What's wrong with this picture? It's square.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so when I was doing wedding photography, I worked for one photographer that had an assortment of cameras, and so I would shoot with him, and I loved his Rolly. It was called a Rolly Magic, and it was light compared to the 6x7, and it, I should have bought it from him, but it's a twin lens reflex. So you're looking down. So if you've looked at Vivian Maier, who was an undiscovered, brilliant photographer, all of hers was twin lens looking down. So that's another way of, you can get close to somebody without them. You're looking down and not at them. You're not holding the camera up to them. So I borrowed it for, this was these two shots happened to be at the end of the San Francisco Pride Parade, and I'm gonna guess like late 1980s. And then the one on the left is 35 millimeter, and you can see it was during the march. So I have lots and lots of negatives for I think I went to the Pride Parade party every year for like 5 years. It was so fun.
The gentleman on the left in that picture that was in the first picture, that go forward
Oh, I'm sorry.
on that left picture.
Yes.
That person, that same person that was in the wedding dress.
No.
Okay.
But yeah. So the timing kind of was, I didn't even know what bodybuilding was. I thought it meant you worked at a mechanic shop or something. I didn't know. It was a different world for me. But they started having in 1986, I believe, gay games, which was a version of Olympics, but for gay athletes. So I think all those women were probably in the bodybuilding realm. And then on the left-hand side, you have, it's two men and they're dressed in bathing suits. And that's at the Civic Center. So the parade would go down Market Street and then everybody would gather at Civic Center just to hang out. And the person on the right-hand side, I have, the next slide's going to show a little bio about him. And so AIDS was happening, and it was very weird to, walk through a neighborhood and you see men with cancer on their face, where, like the parade pictures that I showed you, it was usually a celebration. Everybody looks great. It's like going to South Beach in Miami. Everybody's fit. And then all of a sudden this started happening where people were getting sick. And, there's got to be a support for, healthcare support. And this group, so that is Sister Sadie. And they were called the Perpetual Sisters of Indulgence. And it was a group of men that would dress up in drag. So not transgender, but dress up in drag. And it was celebratory and fantastical. And all the buttons that you see, it says, like stop AIDS and stuff. But they also did, there had to be hospices set up. A lot of people were dying without their family. And that group was a real community support to help men that were getting sick find resources for health care and food and housing and such, with a whimsical kind of approach. So this just talks about her. Sister Sadie, the rabbi lady, was a pioneering Jewish drag queen and early members of the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. So you can read that on your own. But I think there's still, actually, I have a picture of one of my, she's gone now, but my Chihuahua, I have a picture of my Chihuahua with a group of the sisters not too long ago. So they're part of the community. All right, and then Folsom Street Fair. Has anybody heard of Folsom Street Fair? Or Folsom Street? So it's more extreme in the sense of wild and crazy people at a street fair. So San Francisco is a great city for street fairs. So if you go down to like Pacific Heights and Union Street has a street fair. Castro has a street fair. The Haight Ashbury, everybody knows Haight Ashbury. They have street fairs. They have Halloween events, and then Folsom Street Fair was a fun place to go to also. And it was a time where everybody could go and do whatever they want. Like this guy's got a boa constrictor around his head and he's just standing there. So, and nobody cares. It's like, okay, that's cool, All right, so that was it for the street scenes in San Francisco. Then what happened was we lived in San Francisco, but I wanted to buy a house and you could not afford a house in San Francisco. So we ended up in Sonoma County, and that was the wine country and small towns. You can see the redwoods in the background, and it was a whole, it was a resort destination, tourist destination for people from the city. So then I was photographing people. I was waiting tables. I was still a flight attendant, but I was waiting tables, and you can see everybody wanted their picture taken. It's in this small little town that I lived in. Okay, so on the, does anybody know what kind of film this is? It's a quiz.
It looks like Ilford to me, the one on the left.
What did you say?
You said it looks like Ilford.
Yes, yeah, it's infrared. I think it was Ilford. I think you're right. but it was infrared film. So, you know, just like all of you, it's fun to dabble with different settings and if you do film, different types of film. So both of those are infrared. So the ivy comes out looking different than dark green. Or wouldn't it be green and black and white, but. Okay, and then just next door to our house, we had an old redwood tree trunk that had ivy growing on it. So I'm not sure, can everybody see these, you know, I love fine detail and it's hard to see it in a TV screen, but so it's kind of like gender blending. You've got a woman on the left-hand side who's flexing her bicep. She was a bodybuilder, and that happens to be my wife. So she doesn't look like that now. She's like 50 pounds less, but because we're, you know, at a different age. But she did do a bodybuilding contest once. And then, so she's flexing her bicep. And then on the right is, I told you, my friend Scott, and he just was fit between dancing hula and swim. He was a swimmer back in Hawaii. And he I don't know how he found that dress his size, but he did. And these are two friends. They were never partners, but they're friends. And again, I just like the tonal range of black and white. And so they were just being silly. And again, you know, you'll see in a couple minutes the last series, but the emphasis on being yourself and feeling, you know, like just you can kiss somebody. I mean, these two are just friends. They're not boyfriends, but they're just being silly, you know, and affection is not bad. It's not a bad thing. All right, and then it was up by a river called the Russian River. So you've got the two women on the left side. We're at the canoe regatta. And then my friend Lloyd, he was a real trooper because it had to be like very cold. When I say, well, you know, the lighting was best at 7 o'clock in the morning. I think he did a shot of Jack Daniels beforehand, but it's okay because, yeah, I asked him, I wanted to take these pictures of him in the water. So that was my portraiture time. And these two, I visited my family as often as I could. And this is still with my Pentax 6x7. My dad had so much cancer well, the dates are, he was 60 in 1980, and he lived to be 89. And, you know, again, if you saw a print of this, you could see every scar that he has. He had a radical mastectomy, breast cancer. There's I believe there's tape. No, not tape, but you can see the scar that he just had a kidney removed. I mean, he was, like I said in the beginning, a Marine. And there's his workout stuff in the background. He was a fighter fighting cancer. And then his grandson, or my nephew, is Bill. So I just like it's the same patio in the background of youth versus aging. And, you know, and the detail on the one on the left, I don't know if you can see it in the slide presentation, but you can see you just got out of the pool and the water dripping, you know, the water beads. All right. And then if that's okay, I'm going to read this because now I'll show the last photos are going to be of this series called Just Being. And back in the 90s, I called it Homemakers. But now 30 years later, we're LGBTQ are still having to fight for their rights. In an exhaustive change of the title, I'm just calling it Just Being. These photographs were taken in the early 1990s. The images depict gay people in their domestic environments. To most people, home signifies stability, security, and comfort. It is a safe haven where one's identity is reflected by their surroundings. The photos show folks living their authentic and affectionate lives. Some of the photographs emphasize the mundane routine of daily activities, along with objects and artifacts of their homes. My intention was to deconstruct the stereotypical beliefs of the LGBTQ community. And then because of the timing of this series, it's inevitable that the AIDS crisis touched the lives of many in these photographs. So one thing, someone had told me this when I was in college, and it was another woman. I was pretty much in the closet for a long, like through high school and college, because I was so afraid to come out. But a friend that I knew in college that was gay, and she said to me, she didn't like San Francisco and how everybody dressed up elaborately because it reinforces the stereotype. And that kind of stuck with me. It was kind of like, am I doing good or harm by photographing the drag queens on Halloween? So it was always kind of that way, but I love taking pictures of people. I didn't just go to the SF Pride Parade. I went to, St. Patrick's Day Parade and Martin Luther King Day. And so I love taking pictures of people. So, but for this series, I felt like, I was getting a little angry about like, I worked at a restaurant and this retired couple had eaten there for a year, like a couple years that I worked there. And then they found out the owner was gay and they wrote this nasty letter saying, we're never eating here again. And it's like, because of the food, what's that about? So, and at the time that I did this series, there was there were photographers that were looking inward at their own families and photographing them. One that I really loved, and I was actually, my work was in the show with Carrie Mae Weems and then Larry Sultan. Larry Sultan is known for, he took pictures of his family. I think they lived in Southern California, a very polyester family. All right, so again, earlier you saw my friend Lloyd. And so it's kind of like intentional, a little bit forced in I chose color to make it more like snapshots, and that these were just one day in the life of normal people, And so that's when Lloyd's parents came out to visit. And then that's me on the left-hand side. I have another shot, but I can never ever show it, And then that's Marcia, my spouse, on the right-hand side. Again, just doing routine things that everybody does, the normalcy of, cohabitating and daily activities. And then the photograph of us kissing, which is like so mundane in my mind, but when I was able to show these a few times at different shows, and this one guy said, I don't like those pictures because it's two women kissing. And I'm like, okay, all right. And then what I mentioned earlier about artifacts, so I wanted to also incorporate what people collect and have in their homes. And those are not our tchotchkes, but another house that I photographed. And then again, Christmas time, just spending time with their cats. And then a Christmas party on the right side, Tony and Keith. And then this, not everybody was in a couple relationship. So this guy was the mailman in the small town that we lived in. So everybody knew each other. Like Cheers. Everybody knew each other because it was such a small town up in Sonoma County. And if you can see the license plate, can anybody read the license plate? It says GWM for GAM.
Gay white male for gay, I don't know what.
Well, look at the other guy. Asian.
Oh.
So that's Patrick, you know, and Patrick is the mechanic and it's his car. And that's what he chose for his license plate. And then on the right-hand side, so I asked these people, you know, because there's a little bit of a production between the camera and the lighting and the tripod. I asked them, you know, we had to make a date for me to come over and take pictures. So these are two different dates, obviously. But the one on the right, that is he's our mailman. He was the clerk at the little tiny post office. And it was the day the Elvis stamp was being released. I think that was the early 90s. And I'm in there. Can you see me?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so when I was, I didn't catch it. I forgot that I was actually in the picture. And then you can see like, you know, it's kind of poignant and kind of sad and reflecting is like the poster he has behind him is a public, what is that called? PSA, public service announcement. It's for two guys together and they're advertising using condoms, you know, so that was just, you know, part of everybody changing the way that they thought about things. And then here we have, you know, again, just waking up, Kathy and Michelle, and then Kathy getting ready for work at the sheriff's department, at the county jail. Oops. And then this, you can't see it. I guess maybe I'm too picky. I mean, you guys, you can share your thoughts afterwards or not. It's okay. I can take criticism, but the one on the left, the laundry, it's just, I was trying to, it was obviously fluorescent light. That's what everybody used, the yellowy type light in their homes, or not fluorescent, but just like more yellowish, but my flash was white. And so I couldn't get that wall when I was, you know, using Photoshop and Lightroom. I couldn't get it. I'm not technically savvy enough to make the wall all the right color. And then on the right-hand side is just another friend, and she's just in her backyard there. Now, so you're probably thinking, well, you said you just wanted these to be like every other person in the world. That gay people are just the same as everybody else. And then I include Drew, and I, you know, kind of went back and forth, maybe my own phobia. But this is Drew being true to, in those days, we didn't have pronouns, by the way. So Drew was the cook at the restaurant I worked at as Drew. And Drew loved to make costumes. So when we are creative, like photographers are creative taking pictures, Drew was a seamstress. And then, so these elegant gowns were all made by just fabric. No, there was no, you know, store-bought dresses for Drew. So when there was a party happening, Drew would always be the one to help everybody get ready. And this was, Drew, I did not identify as a woman, but Drew loved to help people dress up, and he was just a beautiful person. And he did not wear that outfit when he was cooking at the restaurant.
About your lighting, in those images?
What's that?
Can I ask about your lighting?
Yes.
Just what you use because I mean, especially that intel, that's beautiful. Almost has, for me, kind of Annie Leibovitz kind of feel to it.
Yeah, good point, Andy.
Just the lighting, I'd be really curious to hear what you use to get that.
You know, I used my flash fill, and then I had a second flash on remote that I think I turned around with a little umbrella or paper. So I made like an ad hoc studio light. Yeah, I mean, it was this area was, the town's called Guerneville. and it's in the redwoods, so everything's dark, you know, and so you don't get a lot of natural light coming in the windows. And it was Fujifilm. Fujifilm is beautiful. And then here we go, the last few that I'll show you. You know, I could do a whole series of just Marcia because I've lived with her for 37 years. I have one of her with poison oak on her face. And it's like, so I could do a whole series of just a day, you know, a decade in the life of Marcia and Sarah, you know. So, you know, these are things that I can do now that I'm retired. I retired in 22 because of, you know, COVID. I got a nice buyout. I wasn't quite ready to retire, but I said I would do more of my scanning of pictures when I retired. So here I am with the nudge from Kyle. So anyway, you know, I'm sure, and when you start to prepare for this show, you know, entering your work in the show, what Kyle said, I highly suggest you have to talk to each other and get other people to critique and give you feedback. Because even for this presentation, it's like, how many pictures should I put in, or how many of the same person? It can't be the same person, or too many. But it's a collaboration with your peers when you're doing stuff like this. I put these three together. I had never printed the one on the right, but I came across it when I was going through the negatives. So on the left is a neighbor up there, Dennis, and that's his dog. I forget the dog's name, but Dennis was alone because the middle picture is it's from the AIDS quilt. All right. So if you haven't heard of the AIDS quilt, it was something, it was a way for people that survived losing a loved one. They could sew and heal, and they could put little artifacts on that panel. So that's Dennis holding the panel that he sewed for his partner who passed away from AIDS, Keith. But anyway, so these three pictures are about grief pretty much, because then you go to the one on the right, and that whole wall display is a memorial to the dog, you know. So I took pictures obviously over time. So the dog was alive, and then a couple of years later, the dog's not alive. So that was Dennis, and I was trying to show, he was a lovely man, but he was sad. He was a sad person at this time in his life. And then these are two other women in the community. And again, just the average, you know, this reading your newspaper in bed, and then on the right is again just them doing, you know, having breakfast together. And then just more people that I know, Connie and Miriam in their Erte or whatever artwork that was popular in the 90s. On the right hand side is Michael and Aditya, and I have to tell you, Michael and I went to San Francisco Art Institute together. Aditya, the one sitting down, he was a landscape architect, and he's from India. And they lived in America for a while, and they went back to India, and there was a concern of like, will Aditya's family accept him and his partner? And his family did. They even were able to have in those days, I mean, I don't even know if marriage is legal in India, actually, but in the United States, marriage was not legal until just recently, really. But the family embraced Michael, and I'm in touch. When I started to scan these, I did this one, I scanned this negative about 2 years ago, and so I found them on Instagram. And they have 2 kids, and the kids are like 15 and 16. So it's just great. They're happily married. The family embraced them, And he still does architectural landscaping. And I think this is the last of my pictures. I showed a lot tonight, but I hope it wasn't too many. These three, the one on the left, the guy lying down, that's Scott. The one you saw in the dress, that was Buff. He's not Buff, he's sick. And I had a really hard time with it, even to this day, obviously. So that was the two pictures on the left and the right, not the refrigerator. That's his birthday party, and it's his 33rd birthday. And he died 4 days after his 34th birthday. The picture in the middle, it's hard to see it. Zoom people can probably see it better. There's a picture of a man in the so the refrigerator fits with the tchotchkes. It's like the artifacts of what do people, have in their homes. And back in the day, in the 80s and 90s, people put magnets on their refrigerators. It was like their own gallery, right? So the one in the middle, his name is Bruce Bunger. And it's by the little heart picture, and he's holding a cat. And Bruce was a park ranger, and he found that cat up in a tree on one of his work days and brought the cat home. You can see the cat, her name is Grace, and she's on the left-hand side, left picture. Anyway, Bruce died in 1990. And then this is 1993 at Scott's birthday party. So, there was that's what was happening. Scott's mother came out to visit. I have some pictures of her visit. And, the only good drugs that didn't reverse HIV, but slowed it down, didn't come out till 1996, I believe. So there was that time period where, oh, well, and everybody here can relate to it because it's kind of like COVID, right? Until we had a vaccine for COVID, people were just dying. They could look fine one day and be gone the next couple of days. So the lighting in the one on the right, I really love. And the gesture, that was Scott's friends, or one of his friends, giving him a back massage. So it wasn't all sad, but it was a time period of loss for people. All right, and then these are, I won't make you read them. You will not be tested on them, but I was able, this concept of the series, the concept of the series really took off. I got some shows. I had a couple shows on the East Coast, not my own show, but I entered. So this kind of photography of reflecting, looking inward rather than outward, that was real popular in the 90s. I don't know if it is now. I think it still is. Sally Mann, you probably have heard of. So there's a lot of photographers still doing that. So those are just some reviews. And then I have contact information. If anybody wants to call me, can, or email, or I have a website, but it's not up to date. And Instagram, I like a lot because you can, it's your own you're the curator of your Instagram page. So the Sarah J. Wells is my own photography on Instagram, and then Sarah Jane 62, that is, I collect found photos, vintage photos, and I have a whole collection. I sometimes sell them, and I've been doing that for like 20 years, and it's fun. There's a whole community for that too. And then that's kind of
Cool.
Let me see. Okay, so then through this whole process, I was thinking, and Kyle and I had coffee one day, where do I go next? I loved my job. I taught, so it was fun teaching flight attendants and pilots about safety. But I'm still young. I'm 64, and it's like, should I buy a camera?
Yep.
Well,
Yeah.
Sarah, not only you should buy
So,
a camera,
That shouldn't even be a question.
yeah, I know, it's a camera club, right? So you
Right.
guys can give me suggestions, because there's two people that I happen to be visiting. You know, as you get older, people die, whether it, you know, I happen to know more because I was in San Francisco and there's AIDS, but I'm visiting two friends that I photographed a lot. Lloyd, I'm going to visit him in April. He's in Florida. And then a friend of mine that was not in this series, but he always insisted that I photograph him. And I was photographing him since we went to a high school together. So I photographed from him from when he was 17, 18. And he was an opera singer. So he traveled a lot and I saw him a lot. I was like a groupie. I'd go to his opera, even though I don't like opera. But, you know, so I have these pictures of him, and I'm going to visit him in Zurich, Switzerland. I hope I can visit him. And I can take their pictures. So it could be like every decade of taking pictures of these people. So with the new technology, thank you.
Depending on what you think,
What's that?
whether it advances or deteriorates.
Right, yes, yeah. Well, things have gotten, like, even I only knew PowerPoint, and then it's like Canva is this app, and it's so easy to put together a slideshow like this. It's like, so yeah, the technology is making things easier, but probably too many options, I might go crazy. You know, like post-production in Photoshop, you know.
Manual, they only shoot black and white.
Nice,
That's it.
nice.
The lights on.
I have-
Yes.
But real quick,
Yeah, but John, before you go on, let me just switch the microphone real quick, okay? And Sarah, you don't have any more slides after this, right?
No, that's it.
You can unshare or you can stop sharing. We'll still be able to hear you, but. Show you, right, yeah, right there.
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead, John.
No, just a quick comment. If you didn't notice all Sarah's pictures, you could tell where the subject was.
Yeah.
Okay. There was no, but she was saying, you know, she didn't have to crop or anything. She was right there.
Yeah.
I just noticed when, you know, when we had pictures a lot of times, there's a lot of dead space that just doesn't mean anything, you know? And so
Interesting.
I just noticed that in all of her pictures, even though things were like cut off, but that's purposefully done,
Yeah,
you know, sort of framed it, but you could tell
yeah.
exactly where the subject was.
Yeah, and it's
And most of
it
the
was
pictures.
clear to me, Sarah, this is a huge compliment, that you disarmed your subjects so well. Like, they were comfortable in your presence, almost like you weren't there or you were family or whatever. And I think you mentioned that, like, your subjects were so happy to just be themselves in front of you, which is truly an accomplishment.
That's part of the overall authenticity of your pictures and telling the story. And I bet you had some great conversations.
Yes, yeah, you're right, yeah. I mean, that's it, it's like, you guys are doing, you're capturing something, and it is a relationship with the subject, and
You're capturing
it's a story.
versus creating.
Yeah,
And that's what I like, the capturing of the reality.
yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
So,
Yeah.
Sarah, I do have a question for you, and I have a statement and a request. Let me say all three of them together. The question is, I've noticed that you like toning your paper. I don't know if it was tone or different processes. The statement, it's very simple. Wow. And the request, can you please join our club?
Oh,
Yeah, right.
yeah, I love you guys, I don't even know you, but I love you. Seems like a great group, yeah, great what you guys are doing, yeah, that's a possibility, yeah.
It would be great.
If you allow me to.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it cost $60 for a year, so. Like, you know,
You need a camera.
Yeah, for a nominal service fee, you can be a member. Absolutely.
Like that I have.
It's easy. It's actually easier than a new camera.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's
it really is.
I have a question that's kind of a long one,
Okay,
I was telling Kyle, I recently read a book called The Great Believers that is sort of a time lapse between the 1980s in Chicago, focusing on the AIDS epidemic, and then the next generation. It kind of bounces back and forth. And I sat in on a lecture, and the speaker made a really, he lived in Chicago during that time, and he made a really interesting point about that time that I think like maybe a lot of it certainly didn't occur to me that the gay community, particularly men, were losing an entire generation of mentors, and how that would impact younger generations coming up and what they envision for themselves. We usually grow with parents who have loving relationships, and so we're easily able to envision what later in life that might look like for us, but there's a whole community that was robbed of that. And so it got me to wondering if you had an awareness of the magnitude of that health event for generations to come, and how it would impact people culturally at the time that you were shooting, and so how that impacted your work.
Great question.
yeah, that's a good question. I'm gonna need to write down the book that you're talking about. No, I hadn't, I think, you know, I did know, even at United, it's like a small community, so some people that I knew that I trained at United, they'd come in for training once a year, and they knew Scott. Scott was kind of like bigger than life. Like he danced for the Casimiro brothers in Hawaii, and that was at the Royal Hawaiian, so it was a well-known hula group. And the friend would come in, and Scott was the godfather of his kids, and then he didn't get to see grow up, you know, and so that would remind me, you know, of like, you know, what you're talking about. It's like Scott didn't get, the kids didn't get to have Uncle Scott, or, you know, yeah. So, I mean, are we okay on time?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so you know, I think what upsets me, what's happening now is, I'm on Instagram, and you know, hashtags,
Yeah.
they've censored hashtag gay. They have taken out, because you know, when you put in a hashtag, it'll show you how many people have used that hashtag. And maybe they've gotten rid of all of it, but I can do LGBTQ, I can't do gay, and I can't do lesbian. And it's like this, why are we going backwards?
Yeah.
You know, and it's kind of like a slow.
You can thank our that, you won't go there.
Yeah. So it's like, you would think we would have learned, like the okay, nobody asked about Grace the cat. The cat came to live with us.
Ah, nice.
And then we moved to Florida for 5 years, and the cat loved it. She was like ancient, and then backyard, like chasing lizards, you know. But Bruce, who was the guy in the picture on the refrigerator, he wrote a letter to his parents telling them he's not only gay, he's dying of AIDS. And they were a religious family, and they wrote back a rejection letter.
Oh no.
And it broke my heart.
Yeah.
It was just heartbreaking, you know, so they didn't get to see him, you know, the mom didn't get to take care of him like a mom would want to take care of their child, you know.
Makes me question what kind of religion they have.
Yeah. I mean, she came to the memorials, the funeral, and everybody embraced her because she regretted doing that, but she did miss out on the last few months of her son's life.
Tragic.
Yeah.
Tragic.
I mean, I would think things are better, you know, better now. I mean, COVID was, I mean, except it was a certain group that got AIDS, and I think things changed when kids started getting AIDS from blood transfusions. Yeah. But, you know, the loss part is, you know, we've all lost somebody from COVID, you know, so it's a similar, like, there's nothing we can do. This person is dying, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you had like a sixth sense back in the 80s and 90s to document this important maybe movement's not the right word, but culture. And that's part of the reason I wanted you to talk to us, because there's, I think, a lot of important things going on now in today's environment. And it's okay not to document that. We don't all have to do that. But if someone wanted to, if one of us wanted to make sure that we're leading our kids or a legacy of images from today, do you have any comments on that?
You know what I've seen, I think photojournalists are doing a good job. You know, and now that we have access, we can see pictures right away.
Yeah.
You know, there was one photographer, I think her name is Steph Keith, and she is a photojournalist, I think freelance, but she's not afraid to get right there with the, I mean, her pictures are so close. And she spent time at the courthouse where the immigrants are going for the meeting, you know, their regular meeting. And it's like, if they don't show up, they're going to get in trouble. If they do show up, they could disappear. And she's been photographing some amazing moments of, you know, people pulling and pushing and a baby. And, you know, so I guess the photo documentary photographers, I mean, the protest where the guy's being sprayed with some chemical in his face right this close.
Jeez.
I mean, it's like, it's back, I mean, this is a whole nother conversation, but when did we start caring about, was it the Cambodia War was when?
Yeah, right.
When we saw that in Life magazine, you know, so there are photographs that have changed culture.
For sure.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm blown away by the presentation. It exceeded my expectations, and I really appreciate you coming out. Any other comments or questions?
Yes, print more. Print more.
Yeah.
No, they're saying actually we have lost a generation of pictures.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
When the phone came in, you know, the smartphone.
Yeah.
We've lost a generation of pictures.
Yeah, great point, John.
They don't have, you know, like Smithsonian doesn't have.
Yeah.
The archives don't have. Yeah.
Great point.
Yeah.
That is a really good point, and that's why one of the reasons I started collecting found photos, because they don't exist anymore. I call it paper gold, because they're.
I do the same thing for Bibles.
Oh my gosh,
I go try to find Bibles and I return to their family.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's true.
I looked
mean,
at
these people do to save like the Smithsonian and the Library of Congress.
Yeah.
They're saving negatives. They have negatives of some of these photographers that I showed you.
Nice.
You know.
Joy.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you so much, Sarah, for your presentation. As I don't know of any other openly queer members in Focus, but it means a lot to me that you're here. And thank you for sharing your contact info, because I was gonna bug Kyle for it after the presentation if you hadn't done it. So I'm definitely gonna reach out to you. But I echo Ben. We'd love to have you. I'd love to get to know you personally and pick your brain and see some of your other photos. It's great to see representation of our community. So thank you so much for being here tonight.
Oh, thanks, Joy. So did I have it up long enough that you were able to?
I screenshotted it, so I'll reach out.
Oh.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Thanks, you guys.
Yeah, so I'm so glad we ran into you back 5-6 months ago, whenever that was.
Yeah, I really appreciate this, and I'm gonna start crying again. But it's like one of the reasons I stopped doing photography, and it's only hindsight, is because I put everybody else before me. So don't do that.
Yeah.
Make sure you dedicate time, like you're saying, you do it for work, you're just cranking stuff out, but you're not getting the joy and the rewards of actually doing the photography you want to do. So you have to take care of yourself before you can take care of others.
So Sarah, don't stop putting everyone else ahead of you, but start putting them in front of you with a camera, please.
Yeah, very good point. Thank you very much. Yeah, never.
Thank you. Thanks for putting this together, Kyle.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, everybody. It sounds like that's a wrap. Really appreciated everybody who showed up tonight. Thank you. Bye.